Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome back to Learning HTML. My name is Dare, and I'm going to be your mentor for today. And yeah, let's get started. So last camp, well, actually the previous camps we've been learning some HTML components, some things we can add to our web page, like forms and other things. And recently we also learned CSS, which is the language we use for styling our work. In this camp, we're going to be learning how we can move our work onto a proper text editor. So that's the main focus, and we also have some other stuff if we finish up with that quickly. So text editors, and it's, well, even past time now that we start using them. So flashback to day one of the camp, we were talking about writing HTML and how the fastest, easiest, and simplest way to write HTML was through a text editor. And once again, if you're not too familiar or it doesn't make too much sense about what a text editor is, a text editor is a computer program that allows you to edit text. There are tons of text editors with their own pros and cons, once again. These are just the icons of some more popular ones. Notepad++, Vim's popular. This is Atom. This is Sublime. And this is just a basic text editor, not used for programming really, but really just used for anything. Notepad. So you might be wondering, Adere, when we've been writing HTML all this time, haven't we already been using a text editor? Well, actually, no, we've been using a code playground. So let's talk about what actually code playgrounds are and what we've actually been using. So what is a code playground? A code playground is an online environment that allows you to write code. So writing code in an online environment, although it can seem cool because maybe it gives you access to a lot more features, it actually has a lot of downsides as well. So this is what we've been using. Well, actually, this photo is a bit outdated now because if we look at SoLearn right now, it looks a little bit different. This is SoLearn's code playground. But yeah, this is pretty much what we've been using to write our code and what I've been showcasing so far. Let's go back here. And yeah, so there's a lot of good with code playgrounds. Once again, there's of course a reason they exist. So the first reason is because they're very easy to start using. You can just search up the link to the code playground. You can immediately start writing code. There's no setup process, no saving files and doing anything like that. You can just immediately get into it. The second thing is that it has a very simplistic user interface. When we were right there, you could probably tell we already knew where we wanted to write our HTML. There was a run button so we could run our code, and then there was another screen where we could see our output, so what it would look like in our web page. So that's very easy to understand, and it's pretty quick to explain. So yeah, it's a great place once again to quickly play around with and test code. So maybe you just want to test out code or see if something works or how something would display quickly without messing around with your own personal code. You can just go do it on a code playground quickly, right? And yeah, so with the services that provide code playground, it's not only SoLearn, by the way. There are many other services that you can write code online in an online environment. With those services, they probably have a feature where you can attach an account or create an account with them. And what that does is that it usually has a feature where you can share your work, so the code you write a lot easier. So we'll look over here on Code Playground. Let me just zoom in a bit. I can see there's like a save button, and there's also an option for public. So if I save it and I also make it public, I think I also have the option to get a URL, so I can actually see. Or no, I can use that URL and I can give it to whoever I want to so they can see my code as well. And I've done that for previous camps as well when I was maybe showcasing something, like the blog I edited for CSS. And yeah, so those are code playgrounds. Once again, this is just one of the popular ones. I can search up HTML playground and probably get a lot of results. So yeah, we see try editor, JS Fiddle, CodePen, and then we see SoLearn's code playground over here. Yeah, they all serve the same purpose, just an online environment where you can write code. So I can also write my code on this website over here. So it already has an example here, but if I emptied out all the code they already put in here, I can start writing just my HTML here. And then I think this one actually updates live, so I don't have to do anything. Yeah, so this one updates live. So yeah, this is codepen.io, and those are pretty much code playgrounds. So I'm not sure if I explained this last point well, but I'll just explain it again briefly. So with these services, you can usually create accounts with them. So like SoloLearn, you can create a SoloLearn account. And then when you create accounts, usually they give you the opportunity to be able to save your work and make it public. And then they give you a URL you can use to share it around so other people can see your code. So maybe you want to quickly show something to somebody. It's a very fast way to do it, right? It's just a URL you send. So yeah, that's the good of code playgrounds. That's what they're made for and what they can do for us. So the bad, or I wouldn't necessarily say this is the bad, but this can be something that maybe you're misusing the code playground incorrectly. So the first thing is that a code playground requires internet access because it's an online environment. So this stops you from being able to work if you don't have internet at the time, or maybe it could also limit the amount of work you do if you have a limited internet access. So yeah, code playgrounds also have very limited capabilities. So we can't use all the features of many HTML elements. I think we saw that when we were messing with, I'm not going to say that. I think that's actually what we're going to be doing in a later game. But I think we've seen actually problems already with this when we were messing with the A tag and we were trying to create links. But yeah, so yeah, next thing is that we can't use all the features of many HTML elements. I actually already said that. So yeah, I already said that point. Let's move on. So we cannot bring our work from there. We can't bring our work from Code Playground. So let's say we create like the blogs we created on Code Playground. We can't immediately take the work we got from there, all that code we wrote, and we can't immediately put it on a website. There are a lot of other steps to doing that. Even if we were writing in a proper text editor, there are a lot of other steps to doing that. But with Code Playgrounds, it just makes those steps like double. So yeah, we haven't talked about the process of actually uploading a website or putting your code up and putting it up on a website, but we're going to talk about that next camp, I believe. And yeah, so the last thing is that we cannot view our code in its own web page. So this might not sound like a big deal, but this can pretty much like alter people's views on what's going on. Because as you can see, this is where our output box is, and it's not that large, right? But I think being able to just see your thing on an entire web page on its own, it pretty much changes like the whole experience you have with your web page. So I'll tell you that code playgrounds aren't meant for actually building your web page. You don't ever, I don't think, want to build your website within a code playground. The only thing you can even really do here is just write your code here, but you couldn't do much more. And yeah, so yeah, it does not provide the true experience of a web developer's environment. So yeah, just nice for quick and easy stuff. So for all these reasons, we're going to be switching to a text editor, which gets rid of all this. So here are the default text editors for different operating systems. So when your operating system, if you're on Windows or if you're on Mac or if you're on Linux, I'm pretty sure they all come pre-installed with a text editor, which is just once again, a simple place you can edit text. And I've included what the default ones would look like for Mac and Windows if you want to try follow along with me and copy as I'm doing. So for Mac, you'd be using Text Edit, and then for Windows, you'd be using Notepad. I'm going to show off Notepad, and I'm also going to show off another text editor, which I downloaded from off the web. So yeah, in order to take our work to the next step, we have to start using a text editor. So let's get into that right now. So I'm just going to minimize this, and I'm on the desktop page of my computer. Your desktop might look a little bit different, of course, because you might have different shortcuts over here. But these are just the shortcuts I have, my web browser and stuff. But we don't care about that. We want to open up our text editor. So I'm on Windows once again, so I'm going to search for Notepad. So if you're on Mac, however you search for applications on your computer, you're going to need to do that, and you're going to need to search up text edit. Or if you already have a text editor, you can use that one as well, a place where you can edit text. So Notepad, like that. I searched it up, it opened up on this display. This is pretty much what Notepad looks like. So I'll zoom in. You can see my cursor up here. I can just type in stuff here like this. So it's nothing too special. Once again, we can just write and edit text. But really what's the most important part for us is to be able to save our work so we can go look at what we wrote later. So maybe Notepad, since it's not necessarily meant for writing HTML code, we don't need to use it to write HTML, right? I'm going to just use it to take notes. So maybe it's like things I need to do tomorrow. And just be a list of maybe 2 or so, whatever whatever, right? So we can just use it for whatever we like. And what we do with the text editor usually is that eventually once we're done, we save our work. So there's a shortcut on your computer. If you do Control S, so Control plus S, it brings up the option to save. And then you usually see a pop-up like this where it brings up your file explorer. So over here, this is pretty much where you choose the location you want to save your text file to, or yeah, this file where you want to save it to. In this case, I want to save this file to my desktop. I'm going to call it things to do.txt. Maybe I won't put it like that. I'll put it like I'll just put it. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this actually. Okay, yeah, that works. And yeah, if we look at our desktop now, just minimize this, we can see things to do.txt over here. And I can open this back up, opens up on this display. And then you see I have whatever I did here. So basically we're doing the exact same thing we just did here. We're saving a file. We write our code in here, or we write whatever we want in here, and then we save the file. So in this case, in that example I just did, I saved it as a .txt file. And .txt is the extension for a text file. And yeah, so the only thing we're going to differ now is that we're going to write HTML code now. And we're going to save it as a .html file, and that will allow it to be opened up as an HTML file, and it'll open up in our web browser. So just to save all the work of writing like those basic HTML tags and the doc tag declaration and things, I'm just going to go over here and steal the code from Code Playground. If we remember, we had that open. Just going to copy and paste everything here. You don't need to do this. I'm just doing this to save time. And I'm going to put it within my code like this. So we have all that other stuff we had from the other page. So next, I'm going to just write some basic things. So I'm just going to write a title. First of all, we can actually write a title now. So I'm going to call the title Pizza 123. And then now I'm just going to write a P tag in here and an H1 tag as well. So H1, and I'll say title for my awesome web page. And in the P tag now, I'll just write paragraph for my awesome web page. Like that. So once again, I need to save my work now. So since I was actually just working in things to do.txt, I can't just save it or else it will update under things.todo.txt. So I actually want to do save as. So I'm saving it as something different now. So we're saving it as an HTML file, right? So I can write HTML. And then over here, I can write whatever I want the file name to be. So I'll call it webpage.html. And text files, if it's under a text document still, I'm just going to switch that to all files because we don't want it to be a text file. Like that. So we've saved it as a HTML file. And we see we saved it to our desktop again. Sorry, I think I'm going to sneeze in a second. I feel like sneezing. But anyways, we see it's on our desktop, and we can also see that we have a different icon for it now. So the icon you see over here, that's going to be what browser it's going to open up in, because it's a .html file now. And we see when I hover over, it's type Firefox HTML document. The reason it says Firefox, because that's the web browser I'm using. And that's the default web browser I'm using as well if you have more than one web browser. But yeah, this will open up in your web browser. Now it's an HTML file. Your computer recognizes that, and it's saying, hey, we can open it up in your web browser. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm just going to double click here. It opened up once again on my other display, but this is what it looks like. So we have title for my awesome web page, and then we have paragraph for my awesome web page. So actually a good example of what I was talking about earlier with Code Playground is that title tag that we used here. So before, we've always seen title in our work, but I never really bothered to explain it because I wouldn't be able to actually show you what it's doing too well. But now we can actually see. So title, that's basically the title of the tab. So if we look up here, we see it says pizza 123, and that's what I wrote in between the title text. That's what it's doing here. And then in Code Playground, we wouldn't actually be able to see that output. So if we go look right now, like this, sure, I could write a title over here. Sure, I can write Adere 123 and then run it. But honestly, where are we going to see our output, right? Because we're just working within this tiny box. So working within a larger playground like this can have many benefits for us. All the other stuff we did as well with CSS, we can still do that here. So I can still do my inline CSS, or I can write external CSS. Let's just do something random. I'll do something more different. I won't just write inline. Let's write internal CSS. So remember, that's a style tag. Style, my bad. Now I'm just gonna write my closing one. Style, like that. And then, oh, I actually messed that up. That was the front. Let's write code in between here. So I'll literally just say P, and then I'll say color red. So this looks a little bit funny because of like the text editor we're using once again. It doesn't know, or it doesn't have anything special for HTML, so it won't look pretty, but I'll show you something else after that. So I'll just set this to the color red. Just now I'm writing my code correctly. It's just spaced out weirdly on different lines. But I can save this, and then I can go back to where I have my web page open right here. You see that file location, by the way. That's something you might pick up on. I want you to think about that. I refresh, and my PG becomes red. So we can write CSS here as well. And we can also use external CSS, but I don't think we're actually going to do that right now. I want to move on to the next thing. So yeah, that's pretty much a text editor in the simplest form. So this can be a bit painful to use if you're trying to write a larger website. Notepad specifically, I don't know about TextEdit too much, but it doesn't really have too much support for HTML at all, simply because it's not meant for writing code. It's just meant for taking notes, as you might guess from the username. So yeah, let's keep this here though. Let's minimize this, and let's actually bring this code over. Actually, let's copy and paste this actually. Let's bring this over to Code Playground just to show that we're still writing HTML code in both. It's just that one gives us a different experience from the other, and we get like a full web page output. So we have some tags to learn next camp, I believe. We have like 2 more tags I want to learn next camp, and you'll see that those actually don't work within solo learn too well. So we'd have to use external CSS. Not external CSS, we'd have to use a text editor to use them. So yeah, that's the code copy and pasted. We run it here, and we see we get the same output, but once again, this, we'll be able to, of course, do simple things like writing an H1 tag and a P tag in a Code Playground. But once we get to doing more complicated things, using Code Playground just doesn't seem that useful anymore, and it just seems to make things more complicated. So yeah, that's pretty much covering text editor. So the steps we did to do this, once again, in case if you weren't able to follow along too well, you'll probably be able to rewind this anyways. But basically the steps we used to do this was that first we opened up a text editor, then we wrote our HTML code, then we saved that code as an HTML file. That's the most important part, really. And then we simply opened up that HTML file, and it would open up in our default web browser. So we didn't have to do anything to make that happen. It just opened up on its own because our computer recognized it. So if you had any trouble, you may have to ask somebody else if you're maybe having trouble figuring out how to save your work or how to save something as a certain file type. You might have to ask somebody near you, because that's going to be a little bit tricky for me to show you, but yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's Code Playgrounds, and let me see if there's anything else I want to do before we move on. No, let's just move on. Okay. So I think actually what we're going to do is that we're going to skip one of the parts I want to discuss for today. We're going to discuss it in next camp. But yeah, so let's talk about CSS a bit more, and let's talk about HTML colors. So when I say HTML colors, I'm just saying HTML colors because it's coloring for HTML, but really just colors and color codes in general for this topic. So this is a brand new topic, and yeah. So HTML colors are most commonly expressed in hexadecimal values. So when we're writing CSS and we're setting like the color values for things, so maybe we're setting the background color, or we're just setting the color of basic text, or just the color of many other things like After Effects and stuff, we can express these in hexadecimal values. And if you're looking at other people's code and stuff, you might see that when they write those like color values, they're not just writing in the word red or the word blue or the word green or whatever color. They're writing in maybe like something that looks like code almost. So It's expressed in hexadecimal values. That's what it's called. So a hexadecimal is a numerical system. It is also commonly just called hex values. And yeah, something you can know about them is that they only have 16 symbols, and it goes from 0 to F. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 9. And then after 9, it goes A, B, C, D, E, F. And yeah, so 0 represents the lowest value, and F represents the highest value. So, okay, this image didn't load in for some reason. But yeah, I guess honestly I'll just load up another website. So I don't know why that image didn't load up. So I'm just gonna search up basic hex values. I don't know why the image on my slides didn't load in. Could that be my internet? Okay, basic hex values. Let's look at some hex color values. So yeah, honestly, we'll just chill here. So what colors? Cool. And yeah, so what we care about right here is that basically the names, and then we also have RGB here, but let's just look at the hex. So hex over here, you see these, we see FFFFF. That's the highest value, and that gives us all white. And we just see different combinations. This gives us silver. This gives us gray. This gives us black, all zeros, red, maroon, and there's a lot of other ones. These are just the basic ones, but we can pretty much get any color we want. So if I go hex color, I can go over here, and I think in here I can type in a code. So let me zoom in again here. So I can type in any code I want. I'm just going to type in FFFFF. So by the way, it's usually 6 we write in our hex color code for. It's just 6 or 3 usually. But yeah, and that gives us white, as you can see over here. I write in, let's just say A. I'll just write my name. Or actually, I'll do it like this. I'll do A 6 times. That gives us this weird color. I can do just a lot. Okay, I hope that gets the point across. So I can just get any color I want. If I go to maybe like this color of pink or whatever, we can see the hex value we have for it. And yeah, so it's just a platform where you can choose a color, and then you can go see the other values of how it's represented. So this is RGB. This is some other ones, and then we have hex as well. So in HTML, we can do the exact same thing. So for example, if you wanted a background color on your webpage and you want it to be like a very nice dark green or something, you wouldn't really be able to express that without, or no, you would not be able to express that using just basic words. It'd be hard to say dark green in HTML because it simply doesn't recognize that. Or maybe it's like a very dark purple or pink, purplish pink, right? It doesn't have a real name because it's just all grouped together as pink or purple. That's where hex values or like using the RGB things would come in useful. So I can go to like here, maybe I wanted, well, we did the example of like purplish pink, right? I could go to like whatever shade of it I want. Maybe that's a little bit too dark, like this, sure, dark, but not too bright either. I could grab this color code and I can put it into my HTML code and we could see it work. So let's actually test that right now. I'm going to copy this hex value. I'm just copying and pasting it. Going back to my text editor, and instead of editing the p tag now, what I want to edit is my background color of my page. So obviously we can leave that there. But then on a new line, we need to write the code for our body element. So I actually haven't showed how to do this, but we have a CSS property I guess we're going to learn right now. So body, of course, we do the basic layout for CSS. And then now what I'm going to write is background color, because that's the properties for this. Background color. And then here we can pass in our value. So first, let's just try doing something for it. I'm going to try saying blue like that. Save it, and then let's go look at our output. I think it's going to be over here. So we see the background of our page becomes blue like this. But now I'm going to switch out this word blue with the hex value I copied and pasted. I'm going to save it again. I'm just using that shortcut Control S. But another way to do it is, of course, just to go to File and press Save like that. Let's go over here. Let's refresh, and then we see that color we were looking at earlier, which is that darkish purplish color. So yeah, this can be useful for a lot of things you can imagine. So getting really specific colors that you want on like a color palette, you can use this for. So this is just hex values, and you can also do it another way, which is using RGB values. So in that you'd say, I think it goes up to like 255 and you pass in different values there. So I think we're also gonna look at that. So let's go back to over here. I don't know why my images aren't loading, unfortunately. But yeah, there are websites and programs where you look at this that lets you translate any color to an HTML hex value. And yeah. So looking at the time, maybe we honestly will cover navigation bar. Oh, sorry, I missed the question from 3 minutes ago. Does the numbers go to 5 or 9? Once again, if we look over here, it goes from 0 to 9, and then after that, it goes A, B, C, D, E, F. So this is like the order it goes in. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's the system it goes in. So F represents the highest, and 0 represents the lowest. And once again, it's short of like 3 or 6 hex characters total. And oh yeah, I didn't mention this, but it's followed by a hashtag symbol. So once again, you'd probably be using this if you're trying to get a really specific color that you want. And yeah, so I'm thinking of what we should do. Let's move on. Let's look at navigation bars. So let's go back to what I was going to skip for today. Okay, none of my images are loading in. I apologize for that. So I guess I'll do this one out of the slides presentation mainly. Okay, that's good. That makes sense. I don't know why my images aren't loading this, so I'm going to do this mainly out of the slides. So let's go to a website. Let's go to, honestly, we can go to learningwithme.org. Learningwithme.org. There we go. On this website or on any other website too, like youtube.com, we're all pretty much familiar, I think, at this point with like at the top of a website, there's usually something where there's a bunch of URLs at the top that we can go to access different parts of the page, right? There's here. In this case, there's just a lot of options, and that goes with many web pages too. If I go to another one, let me think of an example. If I go to CNN, maybe CNN News. Sorry, I'm sniffling. But anyways, we can ignore everything on the page. But anyways, up here, once again, we have some navigation links once again. And then one last example, let's go to W3 Schools. On their website too, there's, once again, URLs we can go to. And just it's always at the top of the page. And I think we're all familiar with that. Sorry. No problem. I don't know what you're saying sorry for, but no problem. If I didn't answer your question, by the way, you can repeat it again because I'm not sure. You can just tell me if I didn't answer your question. I'll try answering it a second time. I'm not sure if I answered your question. But anyways, yeah, there's just always URLs at the top of our page. So with that being said, what we usually call it at the top of our page is that we call it a navigation bar. So it's a bunch of links we can use to navigate throughout the entire website as a whole, right? It gives us access to everything. That's just a link. So we have drop downs or we have other things as well. So navigation bars are on like most web pages nowadays, and it's pretty useful and it's pretty common. It's just nice to have, right? Of course, they usually go at the top because it'd be weird, to put them anywhere else. So honestly, what I think I'm going to do is, since my slides isn't working, I'm just going to switch up now because I think I can just talk about what's going on here. So navigation bars, by the way, I didn't mention this, but navigation bars are just built up of links completely because those links are what you press on to navigate, right? So they're pretty much nothing else except like organized links. And once again, it's usually at the top. So over here still, even on this page, we still have a navigation bar, and these are links I can press on to take me different parts. And then there's also a search bar in this navigation bar. So this is what navigation bars look like typically. And they also might have a logo here as well. So this is like CSS navigation bar. So this is just styling with CSS on top. But if we honestly just look at their example, I'll just talk about it. So pretty much it's just links once again. So we're putting in a list in this case, just so we can have everything lined up, and then we can just edit that entire list. But yeah, we have an A tag within here, and it's just, we have the A tag in there, and it's just, what's it called? It's just the location where the links take you to. So maybe we'll try writing our own navigation bar right now. So I'm not sure if I explained navigation bars too well, but it's just a way you can navigate through our web page, and it's usually what we see at the top of our code. So I'm gonna let's keep the style tag for there. Let's just empty it out, and then in body, let's also empty this out here. So I want to create a navigation bar, and maybe on my web page, let's say this web page is about, maybe it's like a gaming forum, or maybe this web page does everything. Okay, so on this web page, I want a page where they can go to see all the games they can play. I want a page where they can go to contact me, so like contact information. I want a home page, of course. So that's the page they go to if they just go to my website name. And I also want a about page, so what the web page is about. So let's start doing that. So typical way people do it, there's many ways to get your navigation bar because it's really just styling links. But pretty much the way most people do is that they put it within a list. So I'll just put it in an unordered list first. So UL. Oh, I just remembered what I wanted to do earlier. I want to show you guys another text editor. We'll do that after this. So I'm going to put in UL. I'm just going to write my list items here. So LI. Like that twice. Let's just say, how many items do we need? We have 4, right? So I'll 1, 2 like that. Honestly, this looks pretty weird because Notepad. So we're gonna switch this to another text editor soon. Put this all up here. And then now I'm just gonna put in simply the A tag within this. So I'm going A tag like that, and I can say href. I can pass in whatever value I want here. And this value, by the way, is going to be where the link takes me to, of course. And then I'm going to put my closing A tag. And I'm just going to write whatever I want to say here. So I'll just say this should say home. This is the home page. Let's copy and paste this. Or no, let's just copy and paste this, honestly. Put it in here like that. I'm just saving work. And then here now, this is going to be play. This is going to be about, and then this is going to be contact. I guess that doesn't make too much sense. Maybe about would probably show contact, but contacts. Anyways, so you can imagine on your page, whatever your page is about, these would probably be related to what you have on your page. So maybe it's like a online shop. You'd probably have different pages for, like, maybe you probably still have a contact, and you'd have different categories for where they buy things. But in this case, I'm just going to have these pages. So in href here, what most people do if they have no link to put in, they just put in a hashtag by itself like that. And that pretty much just shows like it's a dead link, so it doesn't do anything. So I save this, and let's see our current output. So go over here. It's back to Firefox. Do I have it open anymore? I'm not sure if I have it open. Maybe I'll have to reopen it. No, I do have it open over here. So we just see we have our normal links like that. So what needs to happen is that we need to arrange these links so it goes in a line as well. So we can do that with CSS. And pretty much from here on out, this is all we need. And then after that, it's just going to be all CSS we're using to get this to look right. So this is going to be a little bit weird. I'm just going to honestly try going off my mind. Maybe honestly, I'll just copy somebody else's CSS. So if we just look at the example these guys were doing, they were using CSS to build it. So we see the properties they use and stuff. This isn't really styled. They didn't really style this too much. Maybe I'll style it myself if they didn't style it. But yeah, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. So first thing I need to do, I need to align these all to be on the same line. So I think I can edit the UL tag to do this. I think what I have to do is text decoration, I believe. So, or text align. Honestly, I can just search it up. Let's see. I don't think these guys do a good example. They say list style type none. I think I'm going to actually need that so I can remove the bullet points from it. So let's just do that right now. So this will remove the bullet points from my my list I have here. So I'm just gonna save it, look at the output. We refresh this, we see the bullet points get removed now, and probably what the next step would be to do is to put it all on the same line. I think we'd also have to remove the margin as well, because as you can see, we have a margin on our page. What else? Then we probably want to start changing the colors. We'd probably want to move the underlines. We'd add a background around this, and we just do a lot more. But I think what I actually want to do, since the focus of today's camp was mostly text editors, and this was a bonus, I think I want to show you a different text editor. Maybe we'll continue working on this little thing over here. But yeah, then after that, we're going to wrap up the camp. So let's leave this here for now. I'm just going to minimize this, or actually I'm going to close it. We don't need it anymore for now. I'm going to leave Notepad open, so I'm just going to put it like this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up another text editor called Sublime Text. So I talked about it earlier, and I downloaded this off the web. And this is a text editor meant for actually writing code. So if we look at it over here, this is what it looks like. And yeah, so actually this is all the way from last camp. We can close this like that. And yeah, we can work in here and we can write HTML code. So this file no longer exists. So I actually have to X this. And yeah, so what I can do here, funny enough, is I can open a file to edit. And what I can do is I just open up that file I already had that existed. So webpage.html. And yeah, so you can see here, it kind of arranges our code already a bit better than it was before. But yeah, so everything gets styled a bit more now. It looks kind of more similar to Solar, I guess you could say. And it's also going to help me auto-complete my ending tags and just stuff like that. So I can still do all my styling. We can see now it's actually indented properly and stuff. I can write my code and stuff. I also get recommendations. So like it shows me all the properties I could apply here, just CSS properties. But yeah, so this is another text editor called Sublime Text. This one's actually meant for writing code. And we can see we have a lot more options for it. We have tools that we can use. We don't care about this right now, but just a lot of stuff we can do with this one. It's a lot more powerful of a text editor compared to something like Notepad. So yeah, honestly, I'm starting to sniffle a lot. I think I'm going to end the camp soon. So let me think if there's anything else I want to showcase. I haven't asked this, but does anybody have any questions so far on anything we've covered today? Is everybody able to follow along with what we've done? So what's gonna make, honestly, just try working on this right now. So I'm gonna do text decoration. Once again, it's just me trying to use CSS properties. I haven't messed with CSS in a minute. So yeah, text decoration is gonna be none. What else? On my body, I also want to remove that padding we saw earlier. So I'll say body. That's not it. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can put them in chat. I'm trying to answer them. Body, margin, 0, padding 0. This is so I can remove the padding that I have on my page. Honestly, maybe I should continue this. I'm not explaining it too well. Yeah, I'm not going to continue with this example anymore because I'm not really saying I'm just doing stuff. But pretty much here, what I was going to show you is that within the navigation bar, it's just built up of links really. And then from there, to make it better, you style it with CSS. So I'll just grab CSS code quickly, honestly, and I'll show you what it would look like. So once again, I really recommend you guys pick up CSS. It can be useful for a lot of things. And yeah, it's just a nice language to know. And it's not too much of a learning curve, I wouldn't say. So let's see. Nobody's styling with CSS. Let's see if I can just say nav CSS. So learn how to create a navigation bar with CSS. Okay, so yeah, you can see these guys do a lot of styling with their CSS. They create something with divs, and they just do a lot of other stuff. So honestly, I think next camp we'll look into styling our nav bar with CSS. And I think we're going to end this camp today. So I'm sorry my slides are loading, and I apologize for that. But yeah, so we're going to call that the end of today's camp. Let's just go back to the intro, I guess. So yeah, our main focus was text editors. Hopefully we reached our goals and we can use a text editor now. For all the remaining camps, we're not going to be using Code Plugger anymore. We're going to be working in a text editor. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the camp. I know it's a little bit more messy, and I apologize for my sniffling. It was bothering you. I'll talk to you guys next camp, hopefully. And yeah, so thank you for joining me. And yeah, stay tuned.